A very good evening to you all, respected doctors. It's indeed my pleasure and privilege to welcome you all for this very interesting webinar on a very useful topic in day-to-day clinical practice. The topic for today's webinar is From Hypertension Control to Heart Failure Prevention, Role of Chlorthalidone. And second topic is Antihypertensive Therapy and Prevention of CHF. For this webinar, we are honored to have most dynamic, vibrant, and highly academic interventional cardiologist from a prestigious cardiac institute of Gujarat, that is Sri Krishna Hospital and Medical Research Center at Karamsad. It gives me immense pleasure to welcome and introduce Dr. Kushal Pujara sir and Dr. Sunil Karna sir to all of you audience. Dr. Kushal Pujara sir is MBBS MD MRCP from UK, CCT in cardiology, and advanced coronary and interventional fellowship from UK. Dr. Kushal sir is a consultant interventional cardiologist at SK Hospital Karamsad and BM Patel Healing Tree Cardiac Center, Sri Krishna Hospital Karamsad in Gujarat. Dr. Kushal sir is expert in interventional cardiology. Sir is trained in UK under eminent teachers. Kushal sir has published various papers in reputed index journals, and Kushal sir has performed more than 1,000 TCIs and more than 4,000 coronary angiogram as first and single operator in last 5 years after coming back to India from United Kingdom. Kushal sir has organized and participated in various health checkup programs for patients and chaired as a faculty in academic events such as scientific CMEs and conferences. Sir has been a part of many audit projects in the field of cardiology as well. We are honored to have Kushal sir today, who will be speaking on the topic antihypertension therapy and prevention of CHF. I welcome Kushal sir. Our second speaker for today's webinar is Dr. Sunil Karna sir. Sunil Karna sir is MD Medicine and DM in Cardiology. Sir is a consultant interventional cardiologist at Bhanubhai and Madhuben Patel Cardiac Center, that is Sri Krishna Hospital and Medical Research Center at Karamsad in Gujarat. Sir is instrumental and part of many important multi-center clinical trials like Paradigm in Heart Failure, SMRX11, Odyssey, Redual PCI, Smart India, and many more. Sunil sir has published articles in various reputed peer-reviewed journals, and sir has attended and chaired various scientific events as CMEs, conferences, symposiums, and workshops. Sunil sir has been a part of various patient-related initiatives such as health camps and awareness programs. Again, it's my honor to welcome Sunil Kumar Karna sir, and sir will be speaking on a topic from hypertension control to heart failure prevention, a role of chlorthalidone. So I request our first speaker, a dynamic cardiologist from Gujarat, Dr. Kushal Pujara sir, to speak on our first topic. Kushal sir, over to you, please. Kushal sir, please unmute your mic, sir.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir. We can hear you, sir.
So, good evening, everyone. Thank you for giving me the opportunity today to speak on the heart failure management and the antihypertensive medicine related to heart failure. So, as everyone knows, the recent advances about that SGLT2 inhibitors in the heart failure. So, these already have approved in the recent trial, as well as there is sacubitril valsartan, the Sigma's molecule also approved in heart failure. But now today we'll discuss about some basics of the heart failure. You know, these are all the new and expensive medicine about SGLT2 inhibitors, and then the valsartan and sacubitril molecule. Next slide, please. So as we can see from this slide that there are the data of the there is always any molecules who are related to the heart failure management. There is primary and secondary cardiovascular outcomes are studied, and then what they study is mainly is the death from the or death or the hospitalization for the heart failure, and these are the main endpoints they studied in the patient in all the trials, and clearly this empagliflozin in the EMPA-REG outcome has clearly mentioned that there is significant reduction on the hospitalization of heart failure and then death from any causes, cardiovascular causes or non-fatal stroke or fatal stroke with this molecule. Next slide, please. So similarly, is a class effect. You can see that SGLT2 inhibitors in canagliflozin also has significant effect on the cardiovascular benefit as well as renal reduction of the renal failure, or reduction of the progression of the renal dysfunction in this group of patients. And it also clearly shows that hospitalization of heart failure were significantly reduced in the patient who are taking canagliflozin compared to the placebo event. And we can see that there is a hazard ratio is 0.67, so we can see that 33% of reduction compared to placebo in the patient who are taking canagliflozin in the CANVAS program. Next slide, please. And in recent article in NEJM in January 2019, also there is a dapagliflozin in the declared TIMI58 trial. They are published by the BBOT-SD, and that also shows significant reduction in the hospitalization of heart failure with dapagliflozin. So in conclusion, we can say that SGLT2 inhibitor has significant impact on the patient with the heart failure groups and reduce the hospitalization, which has again major adverse effects. If patient heart failure, they always worry of hospital admission and increase the significant cost in the health community. So these are the very landmark trials which have showed significant benefit in the reduction of heart failure and the cardiovascular death. Next slide, please. So now as we know from the many years that our back to basics, the first thing is to control the preceding factors. So it is very important to control the hypertension, because if you don't control hypertension, then patient will have more often symptomatic related to heart failure. Heart failure has significant morbidity as well. So the patients, they are physically, they remain short of breath, they have orthopnea, PND, they have poor quality of life, and with recurrent admission, the fluid overdose. Depression, and to reduce that, there are molecules we can say, as we discussed already. On top of that, to control the hypertension is one of the very important or essential topics, and we can see that diuretic remains the foremost effect on the reduction of the fluid symptoms as well. So it's about the chlorothiazide don't have significant better efficacy in the prevention of heart failure, while we discussed all the anti-hypertensive medicine. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. From the previous score, the Framingham heart score as well. You can see from the last 60 to 70 years, and the control the diabetes, control the blood pressure, control the cholesterol, which shows the significant reduction. And these are the basic things, and we should not forget to consider this molecule in prescribing in patients with the heart failure, rather than just jumping on neuro molecule, and we forget our previous established molecule in this group of patients for the long-term beneficial effect. Next slide, please. So there was a next slide, please. Next. And we, as we discussed from last many years, you know, if we can discuss from the initial cardiologists like Franklin Roosevelt, has hyponing case with cardiovascular disease, and mainly is undiagnosed, untreated risk factor is mainly hypertension, which is very important in the patient to have optimized blood pressure. We can say 100 less than 130 to 80 milliliter of mercury, and on top of that, and there are a lot of that. There's different entity called hypertensive heart failure as well. So in this case, patient comes with in the emergency with the significant high blood pressure, and when we investigate the patient, everything comes normal, like patient has initially impaired LV function, when as soon as blood pressure controls, the LV systolic function also improved, and then ultimately there is coronary angiography, so there's no coronary artery disease, and the renal angiography also says no renal artery stenosis. So hypertensive heart failure is one of the known entity for last many years, including 1994. The cardiologist Brunen also diagnosed this one, and as we progress, that this is one of the major health-related discussion and research topic for control of blood pressure over the last few years. Next slide, please. So, as we can see that hypertension is again major factors for coronary artery disease as well as cerebrovascular disease as well, and if uncontrolled or accelerated hypertension can cause significant catecholamine surge, and that affects the renal angiotensin system, and that leads to the fluid retention, and patients suffer from either acute congestive heart failure with acute pulmonary edema, or subsequently they'll end up with the chronic hypertension, chronic heart failure symptoms, and their frequent clinic visits. And we can see from this slide that there's comparison of the male versus female, and clearly we can say that both genders are equally effective or equally affected from the initial stage of congestive cardiac failure. There is slightly more preponderance of the rheumatic heart disease heart failure in the female compared to males, while the males have the cardiovascular disease compared to the females. Next slide, please. So, all the antihypertensive medicine, there was randomized trial as mentioned, the SPRINT group as well. So they always consider heart failure as the secondary outcomes in the all trials, and this is one of the major endpoints in all the major trials, as mentioned in the SPRINT trial, which has almost more than 5,000 patients in the intensive and standard treatment. And we can see the intensive treatment has significant reduction in the heart failure with a p-value of less than 0.002 compared to the standard treatment group. This was published in NEJM in 2015. Next slide, please. So now what we have discussed now, that hypertension control is very important to reduction of heart failure, and we should not forget about the basics of our established molecule compared to new molecule in the treatment of the heart failure. And as you can see from this slide, there are the different molecules for the treating the hypertension over the last few years, and as you can see in all the guidelines, and multiple randomized trials were done till now in more than 2 lakh patients, and we can see that the diuretics comes first in the picture, and then ACE or ARB and calcium blockers, and out of all the and then last beta blocker, and after all the molecules, we can see that diuretics was the most preferred and beneficial compared to other group of antihypertensive medicine. This was proved in the meta-analysis of 26 randomized control trial. Next slide, please. So as you can say that in the diuretic, there are thiazide-like or thiazide-type diuretics are very beneficial, and we should find about the neutral diuretic effect, which does not have any side effect, and we can see this slide. You can see there's multiple trials has proven benefit of the thiazide type or thiazide-like diuretic in the treatment as well as prevention of heart failure. And there's a 43% reduction in the risk of heart failure with the thiazide-like diuretics. Next slide, please. So ALERT study also has major discussed about the major outcomes in the high risk of hypertensive patient, and randomized with the different molecule like the ACE inhibitors or calcium blockers versus diuretic, and the conclusion they concluded after this in the study that patient had a significant benefit of blood pressure control as well as reduction of the heart failure compared to the patient who are taking chlorthalidone compared to patient who are taking lisinopril or amlodipine, and cardiovascular death was cardiovascular disease were higher with the lisinopril compared to chlorthalidone. So this trial concluded there's chlorthalidone as a diuretic is a superior molecule compared to the calcium blocker and the angiotensin converting enzyme inhibitor in a patient who has established cardiovascular disease. Next slide, please. So again, if you go in details of the ALERT study, there and we can see that the in the epidemiology, like the is equal between the age less than 65. So it's not like in the older age or young age. In the all range of age group, the CTD clothianidone has favored better compared to amlodipine. Similarly, whether you consider as a black or non-black or diabetic or diabetic, so it's a universal outcome in this ALERT study in all age group, irrespective of any gender, irrespective of patient is diabetic or non-diabetic or black or non-black. There's significant improvement in the outcomes in the heart failure when the diuretic is prescribed to the patient compared to the amlodipine or compared to lisinopril alone. Next slide, please. So again, this is a graph shows clearly comparison of all three groups: diuretics, clothianidone, amlodipine, and lisinopril. And we can say from this graph that relative risk reduction with CTD was significantly reduction of death in hospitalized patient compared to other two molecules, amlodipine and lisinopril, with significant p-value as mentioned in this slide. In the first year of at the end of first year of this trial. Next slide, please. So now there are, as we know, for last few years, there are two entities in the heart failure. One is the heart failure with preservation fraction. The second is the heart failure with reduced ejection fraction. So in both group of patient, the diuretic, especially clothianidone, has proved their major role compared to the other group of medicine, as you can see from the calcium blocker, alpha blocker, or the ACE inhibitor. So significant reduction in the risk in the both group of patient in ALERT study as well. So this was studied in ALERT study, sub-study as well, and clearly in the both group of patient with the systolic function impaired or where the patient has diastolic dysfunction or the heart with the preservation fraction, the diuretic has played major significant role in the reduction of the risk. Next slide, please. So again, we can see that fatal or non-fatal heart failure were significantly reduced in the another study is called SHAPE study. This was also has compared multiple outcomes compared to placebo, and the patient who are taking clothianidone a significant 50% reduction of the risk of heart failure compared to the other molecules and the other placebo event. And as you can say that if you take 100 patients, then with the both molecules, then 48 patients have more beneficial effect with the reduction of cardiac failure compared to the non-clothianidone. Next slide, please. So there's a SHAPE study detail we can discuss about the reduction of heart failure with the history of myocardial infarction. So this sub-study, and it's clearly mentioned that patient who has myocardial infarction who has treated with the clothianidone, there are 80% reduction in the risk of the heart failure compared to placebo. As you can see, the light in the third line, and this clearly again shows the number of needed proteins of 15 in this group of patient. So every 15 patient, every 15, one patient get benefit of treating with the clothianidone compared to the non-diuretics. Next slide, please. So now, if we go to the subgroup like mild hypertension, again the clothianidone clearly shows benefit in reduction in the LV mass index compared to the placebo, and this ultimately has a reduction in the cardiac death and hospitalization with heart failure because it has significant effect on the reduction of LV mass as we compare over the time with this clothianidone molecule. Next slide, please. So now, if we discuss about the clothianidone and diabetes, and as we discussed in different multiple molecule, and clearly whether patient is diabetic or non-diabetic, there is a significant beneficial in the clothianidone compared to amlodipine or lisinopril in the subgroup of ALERT study, which clearly mentioned in this the slide which was published in 2002 in the JAMA group of articles. Next slide, please. So as we already discussed about the CDD benefits, similarly in SHAP study as well, they have sub-studied the diabetic group of patient and 32% lower long-term cardiovascular mortality as well as total mortality rate in the group of patient who are taking clothianidone, and they have significant reduction in the cardiovascular events with the diabetic as well. Next slide, please. So hypertension, diabetes, as we discussed, the basic things are basic first. So always we try to address the hypertension, diabetes in all subgroup of patient, and India is one of the largest population that suffer from blood pressure and diabetes, and we always try to consider the basic control, and that will reduce the alveolar dysfunction, and so try to control with the glutathione molecule, which reduce the sodium water retention, and they reduce the preload, and that reduce the worsening and progression of the heart failure and improve the renal perfusion. Next slide, please. So diabetic and hypertensive and diastolic dysfunction is another group which is very common in when the patient will come for us to with a short of breath or the leg swellings, and with the echocardiogram, and echocardiogram shows normal systolic function, and this group of people, they suffer from the diastolic dysfunction, and here hence they are the ideal subsets to start diuretic in initial stage compared to the calcium channel blocker, which has not significantly beneficial effect compared to diuretic, especially thiazide in this group of patient. Next slide, please. So sodium retention is a key or is a main pathogenesis in development of hypertension, heart failure, and diuretic is a fundamentally suited for the both. And now we have different multiple landmark study as we discussed today, ALERT study, SHAP study. There's the diuretic with the clothianidone like diuretic is superior versus antihypertensive treatment in the prevention of heart failure. And early use has is always better, and prevention is better than cure, and that may reduce the long-term progression of heart failure, and we don't have to use the expensive molecules which are recently have in the guidelines like ARNI or acetylcholine inhibitor. These are mainly reserved for the later stage, but initial stage is always diuretic is the first line of choice in all group of patients. Next slide, please. Okay, thank you very much for listening. Hope you enjoyed the talk, and then if any questions, we can discuss now as well. Any questions? Hello?
Once the entire talk is over.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, now I request Dr. Sunil sir.
Hello.
Yeah, can we have a Sunil sir's presentation now? Kaustubh, can you share the slide?
I think I can share. I have seen how to share. Okay.
Yeah, started.
Please just hold on. Let me share if I can. That will be easier for me. Okay.
Fine,
Are you
sir.
able to see the
Fine.
slide? Okay.
Yes, sir, we can.
Okay. Good evening. So today we'll be discussing the role of clothianidone from hypertension control to heart failure prevention. So as you know, the high blood pressure is the leading cause of cardiovascular and cerebrovascular disease, and it will kill nearly 10 million people this year itself. Half of the CVD total and more people than all infectious diseases combined. So if you see the slide, high blood pressure is alone supposed to kill 3.37 million in the world, and if you see others apart from smoking and high blood sugar, all others looks very small compared to what number will be killed by high blood pressure. So blood pressure, though it looks very benign, many of the patients do complain, do say that they are very well at 160 millimeter of mercury. So why actually there is need to treat it. Many have a confusion since they are asymptomatic, but this is a slow killer, and over a period of time, there are so many things that can occur, and many of the things are irreversible. So going into blood pressure per se uh, will be unmasked. Basically, they will not be feeling any symptoms. However, it for the long term, it damages eye, damages the brain, kidneys, heart, and the mortality is most of the time cardiovascular than others. So it can cause hemorrhage, stroke, dementia. It can cause retinopathy, peripheral vascular disease, renal failure, or LPH. Now, so what is the target? Whenever we are looking at the target blood pressure reduction, what is kept in mind that whatever is the risk reduction by systolic and blood pressure lowering, both lowering, diastolic blood pressure lowering. So if we are getting 10 by 5 mmHg from the baseline, it reduces the stroke risk dramatically by 36%, the heart failure risk nearly by 40%, this cardiovascular disease by 16%, CV mortality by 18%, and even all-cause mortality by 11% just by lowering of BP by 10 by 5. And thiazide diuretics have remained the first-line agent for management of hypertension for long. And most of the evidence have demonstrated that first-line low-dose thiazide reduced mortality, stroke, and heart attack. No other class has improved health outcomes better than low-dose thiazides, and initially, from the very beginning, this has remained as a first-line drug for treatment of hypertension. However, there were some data in the early 2000, and some data, and more I will say, more of a concern for new onset diabetes. Though I will be discussing, it was not of that concern, but however, it used actually gone down slightly at that point of time. But after the coming of ALLHAT trial, again there was a pickup of use of these thiazide diuretics. So all the guidelines, all the previous guidelines that has come recently in the past 10 years has recommended thiazide as one of the mainstay of therapy treatment for hypertension. It can be seen in JNC 7, JNC 8, European Society of Hypertension, AHA guidelines, even Indian guidelines of hypertension. Now, NICE guidelines in 2011, and recently published in June, there was the Indian Society of Hypertension guideline, and again it has the same spot, same place as one of the first line therapy. The latest before this ISS guidelines came out, AHA 2017 and European guidelines of 2018. It has been recommended by international textbook after multiple meta-analysis and Cochrane reviews. So what is the role of chlorthalidone as per recent guidelines? So guidelines say ACC AHA 2017, it is preferred on the basis of chlorthalidone out of the 4 thiazide or thiazide type diuretics, chlorthalidone, hydrochlorothiazide, indapamide, and metolazone. Chlorthalidone is preferred on the basis of prolonged half-life and prevent trial reduction of CVD. In ALLHAT trial, it has already been established that chlorthalidone was superior in many respects to lisinopril and amlodipine. However, at that point of time, it took almost 10 years before everybody realized that the ALLHAT has used chlorthalidone, though after that also the use of hydrochlorothiazide was more. One of the reasons was not getting a combination drug. Before 2011-12, most of the drugs were combined with hydrochlorothiazide alone, and for cost cutting measures, even in India, we are using only hydrochlorothiazide despite the trial evidence of chlorthalidone way back in 2003. However, once this combination with chlorthalidone started coming in the market, actually it picked up. So one of the reasons always remains in Indian scenario, the cost considerations are always there. And as you can see, despite the trial evidence, it took almost 8 to 10 years before chlorthalidone assumed its actual place in the therapeutic regimen. The monitoring for electrolyte abnormalities remains, however, and for initial few days, there has to be monitoring, a proper monitoring for sodium and potassium. uric acid is one concern, and those having gout should be on some uric acid reducing medications before they can be prescribed these medicines. So all the guidelines, you see ACC, AHA, again, especially chlorthalidone or CCB has been established as the best initial choice when it comes to single drug therapy. Now, meta-analysis as well as largest individual RCT suggest that diuretics, especially long-acting type agent, particularly this chlorthalidone, provide optimal choice. In ESC 2018, again, chlorthalidone and indapamide have been put above the use of hydrochlorothiazide because of its longer duration of action and prolonged BP control, and without any additional side effect on top of hydrochlorothiazide. Now, ESC also said that the treatment of hypertension should be preferentially based on combination of ACE inhibitor or ARB with a CCB or a thiazide-like diuretic. So it has been placed in one of the first-line agents to be used for the treatment of hypertension. And many of the single pill combinations have actually incorporated chlorthalidone instead of hydrochlorothiazide after, as I said, after 2010-11. It actually got its place despite having trial evidence way back in 2003 by all that. And this chlorthalidone and indapamide can all be considered suitable antihypertensive agents as of now, and even ACC, AHA, and ESC, ESS guidelines are recommending it to be the first line agent. And also for triple therapy, so for management of hypertension, whenever a person has been recommended for 3 therapy, one of the things should be diuretic. That is the usual dictum to be followed, because many of the side effects associated with other drugs or resistance due to other drugs are actually balanced by this thiazide type of diuretics, like fluid retention with some of the drugs, then fetal edema associated with CCBs. This can actually be balanced with use of diuretics, apart from all other benefits that I will be discussing later. So if you are using 3 drug combination, thiazide should remain one of it. Now, whenever there is less response to a diuretic, either we have to increase the dose, or it is always better to switch over to a long-acting diuretic, particularly chlorthalidone or indapamide. And whenever we are using ACE inhibitor or RAS blocker, then again to combat the chances of fluid retention, it's always better to use the thiazide or thiazide-like diuretics. So basically, these 2 drugs actually counter side effects of each other, and in both have supra-additive action on control of hypertension rather than just additive action. So all the recent textbooks, they also, apart from these guidelines has well incorporated into practice, and all the textbooks are now recommending chlorthalidone as a better diuretic than hydrochlorothiazide in an accomplished trial. In MRP data, all these practically after ABPM came into widespread use, ambulatory blood pressure monitoring, it was seen that the chlorthalidone effect lasts much longer than hydrochlorothiazide. And for once daily dosing, chlorthalidone always remains better because the morning surge is well controlled with chlorthalidone, which is not seen with hydrochlorothiazide. Now, this ABPM data, as I was discussing, so it has shown that 6.25 milligram of chlorthalidone used in the morning reduces BP for the full 24 hours. Even at 4 a.m., the systolic BP was 35 millimeter of mercury lower on average with 6.25 chlorthalidone than with 12.5 milligram. That is the equivalent dose of hydrochlorothiazide. So one of the risk time for all these adverse cardiovascular events, adverse cerebrovascular events of a stroke, MI, we have seen occurring at the morning hours. And if you can control this morning surge with a better drug like chlorthalidone, it is always better. It's always good to reduce the risk of such events. And this is one thing that is not achieved with hydrochlorothiazide, which actually has two peaks, one in the X for the daytime only, and despite that, there are peaks of blood pressure in the afternoon and early morning with hydrochlorothiazide. That is not with the chlorothalidone. So basically, hydrochlorothiazide, what it does is it just converts untreated, uncontrolled hypertension to partially treated or masked uncontrolled hypertension. So in the office, with office BP may remain normal because the patient, we see the patient during morning hours, usually after 9, between 9 to 5. Most of the time, most of the places, the office hypertension, office BP is seen during that period of time. In the morning hour, which is well controlled with hydrochlorothiazide. But once the patient leaves the hospital in the evening and early morning, that blood pressure goes up, and unless we are doing ABPM, it is not possible to see the blood pressure. So actually it converts a blood pressure to a masked one, where in office we think that the blood pressure is well controlled, but actually the risk associated with it remains. That's why a long-acting hydrochlorothiazide, long-acting thiazide diuretics like chlorothalidone is always a better choice compared to hydrochlorothiazide. And as this cartoon shows, the change in SBP here with lower curve is the blue curve is chlorothalidone. It has a consistent effect over a 24-hour period. However, this hydrochlorothiazide actually shows peak at around evening and early morning, and exactly when the event rates are going to be high. So it's not a very good choice when the better drugs like long-acting drugs are available. Again, in SBP, systolic blood pressure, office SBP, though remains okay, though remains comparable with both hydrochlorothiazide and chlorothalidone, but the 24-hour average, 24-hour and nighttime blood pressures are well controlled with chlorothalidone, which is not seen as well with hydrochlorothiazide. So it remains as the first line drug for hypertension, and one of the first line drug. The other are calcium channel blocker and ACE inhibitor or ARB. For diuretic therapy, whenever we are considering this indapamide or chlorothalidone are preferred over hydrochlorothiazide for the reasons that we already discussed. And when used in low doses, the metabolic side effects are practically negligible. There was some concern regarding diabetes, as I said, after the initial surge in the use in the early era of hypertension therapy. It has gone slightly disfavored due to some concern about new onset diabetes. And substantial, however, the CVD benefits were far better compared to whatever some of the side effects that were considered initially. In ALLHAT, that was one of the largest trials to date of hypertension, the cardiovascular effects of chlorothalidone compared with both lisinopril and amlodipine were similar in patients with diabetes or impaired fasting glucose, despite modest but statistically significant increase in incident diabetes associated with chlorothalidone use. So there was some statistically significant increase. However, the overall CVD benefit, despite that, was better with this chlorothalidone than the other two drugs. However, for hydrochlorothiazide, the use is not recommended in diabetes because the CVD benefits actually do not overcome the risks associated with diabetes. Now, coming to hypertension, there are three landmark trials for chlorothalidone, ALLHAT, MRFIT, and SAFE. One of the trial, two of the trial has been slightly discussed by Dr. Kusal, so I'll be just skipping those some of the discussion. So here we have seen, this was from the ALLHAT, here we have seen the higher SVP reduction with chlorothalidone than amlodipine, even at 6 years of follow-up. Now, the 5-year difference was significant between the two groups. In chlorothalidone, it was 12.3 mmHg reduction, and amlodipine 11.5. Then goal BP was achieved in significantly higher proportion of patients, in 68.2% compared to 66.3% with amlodipine. Now, one of the main concerns that as a cardiologist or as a physician, anybody is concerned, the numbers actually, we are not concerned only about the numbers. Okay, so number has gone down from 180, it has gone down to 140, but are we concerned about number? But our goal is to reduce the event rate. We do not want a patient come with congestive heart failure or MI or a stroke. So actually the target is that rather than just controlling the numbers. So CV event rates when they were seen in ALHA trial, there was better with chlorothalidone than with amlodipine, and that applies to all the subsets, irrespective of age, gender, black or non-black, or diabetic or non-diabetic. It was towards the better outcome. Now, stroke reduction was 36% in this SAFE trial. The chlorothalidone reduced the stroke by 36%. Now, the hydrochlorothiazide has higher mortality compared to chlorothalidone and in MRFIT. And as I said, one of the issue was the morning surge was actually higher at the same time when the risk is already higher for any cardiovascular events. So here, we can see that the mortality overall was hydrochlorothiazide was higher. Now coming to role of chlorothalidone in heart failure, some of these things has been discussed. I will just skip those. So most antihypertensive drug classes, when used as initial therapy, decelerate the transition from hypertension to heart failure. That is applicable to all because the hypertension is one of the risk factors. However, some of the antihypertensive drugs have distinct advantage in reducing heart failure as well. So apart from treatment of hypertension, it reduces the incidence or the severity of heart failure as well. And if we have such drugs, then definitely it is of the first choice because, as I said, we are concerned about the outcomes rather than the numbers. So in this aspect, the chlorothalidone and indapamide seem to have an edge over other antihypertensive drugs in preventing heart failure. As you know, the diuretics remain the mainstay of therapy for heart failure, whether it is prevention or treatment. So if you are using it, then apart from controlling of hypertension, it will help in reducing the event for heart failure as well. And here we have in ACC/AHA guidelines, they also recommend that the chlorothalidone superior to the CCB amlodipine and ACE inhibitor in preventing heart failure based on this ALHAT, and they recommend it as the first line therapy for these patients, particularly those with heart failure. It should be recommended. Again, this chlorothalidone reduced the risk of heart failure, which reduced ejection fraction more than amlodipine and doxazosine, but similarly to lisinopril. Then in role of diuretics in the prevention of heart failure, this was again the largest ALHAT trial, and here the heart failure event reduction was seen far better with chlorothalidone than with amlodipine, irrespective of again the age groups, gender, black or non-black, or diabetic, non-diabetic. The reduced risk of heart failure in chlorothalidone group compared to amlodipine. Then when all three were compared, you see the cumulative event rate was lowest with chlorothalidone than both amlodipine and lisinopril. Though after some time, after say 5 to 6 years, the effect of lisinopril appeared to be similar to the chlorothalidone. However, in the initial years, the event rates were better with chlorothalidone compared to both. And we are seeing it as I increase this with the amlodipine group, it has 38% higher risk of heart failure and 6-year absolute rate difference of 2.5%. That comes out to be almost 0.4% per year. That is quite high in terms of absolute number. Now again, it has 35% higher risk of hospitalized or fatal heart failure and 6-year absolute rate difference of 1.9%. So coming to the highlights, the high blood pressure is the leading cause of cardiovascular and cerebrovascular disease. First line low dose thiazide reduced mortality, stroke, and heart attack. Thiazide diuretics are recommended by various guidelines as well as international textbooks. And out of the diuretics, the chlorthalidone is the preferred on the basis of prolonged half-life and proven trial reduction of CVD. It has 24-hour BP control. It is superior to CCB, amlodipine, and ACE inhibitor, more potent than hydrochlorothiazide, and provide optimal choice for first step drug therapy. It has been found to be superior to CCB and ACE inhibitor in prevention of heart failure and reduce the risk of heart failure with reduced ejection fraction more than amlodipine. Thank you. Hello. Hello. Are you getting me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. So at the end, if there are any questions, I'd like to answer.
Sir, questions are in the chat box. You can refer the questions from the chat box.
Sure. Yes. Okay.
Like
I
anyone
think
from
yeah, I think chlorthalidone is better to telmisartan or salbutamol use hydrochlorothiazide. Yeah, as I already mentioned it in my slide, that in 2003 we have all had trial and chlorthalidone was found to be superior in terms of CV benefits. However, the use has suffered a setback by about 6 to 7 years because at that point of time the combination therapy was not available and it was still less used compared to hydrochlorothiazide. But yes, it should definitely be used because as I showed in the cartoon that the morning surge is not controlled well with hydrochlorothiazide and actually the peaks are there and it causes increase in the event rate. So hydrochlorothiazide should always be the better choice. And practically I have stopped using hydrochlorothiazide now for past many years. It's only chlorthalidone. So I'll not be discussing, I think, hydrochlorothiazide because for practically we have been abandoned using hydrochlorothiazide for hypertension therapy. Drug resistance hypertension. So basically, drug resistance is if the BP is still more than 140/90 on 3 drugs, and one of it has to be the thiazide class of diabetes. Out of all the drug resistant, approximately 50% are actually pseudo-resistant, where the compliance is an issue. Many times patients are not getting proper medicines. Patients are sometimes getting it from other stores, generic medicines. So actually, if you see all the drug resistance and those referred, even the data says it is around 50% are actually pseudo-resistant. And just by changing some of the dietary patterns, some of the medications, some of the this compliance, we can get rid of this drug resistance. Only out of those presenting, and that is the US data 50%. In India, I will say we are seeing out of all those cases which are actually referred for drug resistance, almost 70 to 80% are pseudo resistant. There are some compliance issues or dietary modifications, and many of cases can just be modified without increasing the drug dosage. But as per the definition, 140/90, more than 140/90 on 3 drugs, good doses of 3, minimum of 3 drugs, and one of that has to be diabetics. For 24 hours, yes, CTD is better. BP measure to triple combination. Okay, triple combination is never a first choice. So we start at max with 2 drugs. If the BP is more than 160/100, we usually start directly with the 2 drugs. Otherwise, a single drug is enough. And after that, once it is not controlled with 2 drugs, then after 15 days or 1 month, then we are adding a third drug. So once you are adding a third drug, then comes the roll of triple drug combination. And it should always be better. First tailoring should be done with at max with 2 drug therapy in a combination. And once the patient's BP remains stable, thereafter we can consider a triple drug combination. Because modification drug, any dose modifications will be difficult with triple drug combination. And the problem with going directly with triple drug combination is once you start single drug and now you want to change the dosage which is not available as a single pill combination, suddenly the number of tablets becomes more and the patient will say, okay, so previously it was 1 drug and now it is 2 drugs or 3 drugs. So it is always better to go with single drug. That is what I usually follow. And once we know what is the dosage that is giving the best results, then we can try to combine it so that the tablet numbers also reduces and compliance increases. Chlorthalidone and metoprolol combination. Yeah, it can be used particularly in heart failure subjects when we are using both. Otherwise, the beta blockers are never considered a first-line agent for any of the indications apart from those having CAD or heart failure from the very beginning. Chlorthalidone and telmisartan. Yeah, that is, I think, for diabetic hypertensive, that will be the first-line agent to begin with. Telmisartan and chlorthalidone. Chlorthalidone, metoprolol, and telmisartan. Yeah, those who are having heart failure or CAD, definitely ACE inhibitor and beta blockers we will be using. And if further drugs are required, chlorthalidone should be used and if it is in combination, that is well and good. Why are we still using hydrochlorothiazide? So that I already said in after 2003. Actually, these combinations were not available, and people were quite habituated to use the combination with hydrochlorothiazide. So it took some time for the inertia to go on, and only after 6 to 7 years of all had actually chlorthalidone find its place in the antihypertensive drug basket. Guidelines, which is the best suited to India. So we have the Indian guidelines as well. However, the recent guidelines of ISH seems to be better because ACC-AHA actually has come up with BP after the SPRINT trial that gave 120/80 as the target. So if we apply that, then many of the patients will be classified as hypertensive. And based on a single trial, this has the ACC has changed the recommendation from 130/80 to 120/80. So ISH again is going back. The International Society of Hypertension in June again went back to say 130/80 as the target, and I think that seems reasonable for following in Indian subjects. Precaution while doing angioplasty. I think that is a total out of box. Anyway, so precautions are universal precautions are same. We have to absolutely delay angioplasty in corona scenario. So if it is possible, like if it is primary, then we cannot delay it. But somebody having chronic stable angina for so many years and now well controlled on medication, then yes, we can delay. If, however, the guidelines, as we have seen the ischemia trial, they have shown medical management is good enough. However, if the patient is symptomatic on medical management, then there is no point of delay. We can protect ourselves, we can protect the other staff with the adequate PPE, and then it should be done.
Good evening to you all. I thank you all for your participation in this webinar. I especially thank both the speakers, Sunil Karna sir and Kushal Pujara sir, for sparing their time and had a wonderful discussion on two important topics of day-to-day use. And finally, I thank you all viewers for sparing your time on this working day evening. Thanks a lot from IPCA. Take care, stay well, stay safe. Thank you all.